Thanks for staying with us on SABC News. Capitec released their unaudited financial results for the 6 months ended 31 August 2022, showing that operating profit before tax increased by 17% to over 5.8 billion rand. Their CEO Gerrie Fourie joins me now. Thanks so much for your time on Point today. So the operating environment for that period has been described as challenging. How did you navigate that, and what drove growth for you?
Yeah, I think what was for us encouraging is on the credit side, we advanced, grew with about 35%, but we also see impairments growing more. But then very strong performance on the insurance side, very strong performance on our transactional side, especially on the digital side. We've got now 10.8 million clients on digital, using digital applications. So that was very strong or very encouraging. And on the business banking side, our business banking profits were up 60% to 200 million. So I think overall it was a very good performance.
Yeah, we'll come back to those factors a little bit later on, but you said in your results presentation earlier today that you've seen certain customers under stress. How are you seeing that? Who are those customers, and how, if any way, will that affect you as a bank?
Well, I think, if I look at petrol prices, if I look at inflation, if I look at interest rates, it affects basically everyone. It's not a particular sector. It's got a bigger impact on your lower income clients. And that's what we need to manage. I said with COVID, for example, in the hospitality industry, that was closed down. It was easy. You pull back out of the hospitality industry. Now hospitality is open. I think the general economic environment makes it much more broader that you need to look at. But it's predominantly the lower incomes that's been affected.
All right, talk to me about that growth that you spoke about in the digital space in line with your strategy as well.
Yeah, we said now for the last 5, 6, 7 years that digital for us is extremely important. So we're encouraging people to actually have the bank in their pocket anytime, any place, so they can do any transaction anywhere. And I think that's the purpose of an app. So we've got now close to 58% of our clients that is on digital, 5.8 million clients. And I think for us that is very encouraging. We would like to move people away from cash, because it's much more secure to actually pay with a card or pay with an app, and it's much more cost effective. So that is a big driver for us, and we're very pleasing with the results we're seeing.
With that growth, though, there have been challenges like the outages we saw on the 5th of August this year, which left consumers also worried about whether or not their money is safe and whether or not there is going to be a consistent access to that app. Is that a valid concern? And just talk us through what happened there.
Yeah, I think it's if I look at our history, we've got a very proud history of 99.9% up on our systems. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that happened. It was on the 4th or the 5th. We actually had a record day on the 31st of July, handling about 10 times higher volumes. So it wasn't volumes related. It had to do with our data structure that had a fundamental problem. And it took us a while to actually correct it. So it's unfortunately one of those things. For us, it's not acceptable. Our whole IT team is working on it, and we're quite confident that that has been corrected, and it will be, it should be fine going forward. I think it's one of those things. If you're running with these big volumes that we're running with, number of clients you're running with, just watching the news, everyone somewhere has got a problem on the system, and I think it's just something that we need to manage.
All right, then despite the challenges and the stresses that you've spoken about in terms of the operating environment, the stresses that us as consumers are facing, you've spoken about green shoots in the economy, especially when it comes to big business banking.
Yeah, I think, it's surprising for us, but if you go and look at the big and small and medium, I'll take our merchant services. The turnover is up 14% year on year. So people that's using point of sale terminals is seeing an increase in activity and value that's coming through. If I talk to businesses, everyone is saying there's more consumer spending coming through. And if you go and look at that graph of the Reserve Bank, you can see the consumer is spending more. So there is positive news. I think, if you look at the rand dollar, you can be negative and say 18 is very high. But then the export side of South Africa is actually benefiting from it. So I think there is green shoots, and it's how do you actually make certain that you create value for those particular players.
All right, Gerrie, you spoke at the results presentation about an uncertain year ahead or uncertain time ahead when it comes to our economy. Just give us more insight into what you see in the short and medium term.
Well, it's an interesting environment, if we look at what's happening worldwide. Ukraine, if that war stops tomorrow, it's got a certain scenario. If it stops 6 months or 12 months from now, it's got a different scenario. You're sitting with, let's call it the recession in America. If that inflation doesn't turn, the Fed is still going to increase prices or interest rates, and that's going to have an effect. It's interesting what is happening in England. A new prime minister, and she reduces the tax rates of companies and individuals, and that had a major impact on the pound. So that's the point I'm trying to get across. There's uncertainty in world economies, and it's got an impact on South Africa because we are trading with those partners and we're exporting to those partners. So I think that is, after COVID, definitely I think we've seen the aftermath of that coming through, and that's what one needs to manage. So you need to make certain that you really understand the microeconomy and make certain you're making the right calls.
Mm-hmm. Gerrie Fourie, the CEO of Capitec, joining us there on their results and the outlook ahead. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Now, Asian markets mostly rose on Thursday following a rebound on Wall Street overnight. The Nikkei in Japan advanced 0.95%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 0.49%. And the Shanghai Composite was 0.13%. The JSE also trading weaker. The All-Share Index has declined by 0.1%. Financials have lost 1.6%, and the Industrial 25 Index is 1.6% weaker. Markets in Europe are also weaker. Britain's FTSE 100 shed 0.6%, and the CAC 40 in France is 1% lower. Germany's DAX has declined by 1%. When we look at commodities, gold is trading at $1,650 and platinum at $858 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $89.51 a barrel. The rand is trading at 17.95 rand to the US dollar, 19.47 rand to the pound sterling, 17.44 rand to the euro.